I love Rapid TV.
Shout out Rapid TV. Thank you, Rapid TV. Please keep watching Rapid TV.
This is Rapid TV.
Rapid
TV.
Keep watching.
Keep it down.
Leave it like that.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Business Lens on Rapid TV. This Monday morning is a first day in the month of September 2025. So I think it is just apt to say Happy New Month. The last quarter of the year is upon us. 2025, it's just moving really, really fast. Anyway, welcome to the show. And per usual, we get to look at headlines in the world of business, the economy, and finance. Today, we're going to be looking at, passport fees have been increased once more. What does that mean? And then also the CAC is also shifting implementation of new service fees to October 1. That means there's also an increase in registration of business name and business services with the CAC as well. What does that mean? We'll get to talk about that too. But let's also talk about, the fact that Nigeria and Brazil are discussing collaboration where, mobile money expansion is concerned, as well as financial inclusion. So that's another headline that we'll look at. And then we'll also be talking about what Mr. Taiwo Yedele is saying. He's talking about this questionable demand for FX is driving Naira volatility. Do you agree with that? I don't know, but we get to talk about that as well. Even though the federal government is crediting Naira rebound to oil receipts as well as the remittances. So we're getting more inflows, but for some reason, discretionary spending, according to Mr. Taiwo Yedele, is driving Naira volatility. So all of that and more we get to talk about, as well as the NNPC, what's going on. Well, we have retailers countering the new NNPC boss, talking about how he is, favoring private refinery over public refinery. That is talking about the Port Harcourt refinery shutdown. So that is also part of what we're looking at for today on the show. But I don't get to do all of this alone, of course. I have analysts here with me that will help us unpack all of the stories. I have Mr. Abiola Adekunle from, Keaton Markets. Welcome. Good to have you.
Good to be here.
And, of course, Mr. Janet Alpha as well, our global financial market analyst. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good to be here.
Did you have a great weekend?
Happy New Month. Yeah.
Happy New Month. It was also a football weekend, but let's not get into that too much.
Let's not get into my club lost.
Yeah,
let's just focus on the economy.
Let's focus on the economy. All right, then. So let's start off talking about, Nigeria and Brazil discussing this mobile money expansion, financial inclusion. One of the things that, the CBN governor, Olaiman Cardoso, was talking about was that this is something that is good, for Nigeria, considering, of course, he's looking at, this common ground between Nigeria and Brazil, saying that we probably have a lot of, what I say familiarity, sort of, because of the kind of economy they run, the kind of population they have. And but this idea of, working with Brazil to bring in some sort of financial inclusion, as well as mobile money expansion. The CBN tried to do this mobile money. I think there was e-money at some point during the last CBN governor's administration. E-Naira, yes, sorry. And that sort of didn't, work well. But now we're now talking about having some sort of collaboration. Do you think that will help us get more people into financial inclusion? Because we run a mostly informal economy.
Yeah, so I think that countries like Brazil is what we should really be learning from. However, the conversation around financial inclusion, I don't think it's a CBN conversation alone. I think that should have that kind of meeting. Yeah, it will start from both central bank governors of both countries, but yet I think it's meant to be. It is meant to be an entire stakeholder conversation, right? Because it is not like we don't have the infrastructure or the readiness to run to have a largely financial included country in terms of in terms of the financial sector. But the problem has always been the fact that the way the CBN accommodates fintechs. Yeah, there is this stringent approach to it. There is this I think there's still this culture shock with how the fintech operates and the way traditional banking is, right? So that is really the real problem, because if you want to really get Nigerians to be financially included, like the way Brazil is virtually almost 80%, right? And we are still struggling with 50% or thereabout for our adult population. So if you want to get to that kind of conversation, it is usually tailor-made to your own country. That is why the stakeholders are important. So they just know, okay, this is what worked in Brazil. This is what will work here too. Because then we have similarities, like you cited, in terms of population, in terms of the way the economy is, in terms of the level of literacy. Is almost the same thing, but that financial inclusion is a big issue when you begin to look at the entire financial landscape, right? So, for example, we have POS operators. For example, why are POS operators cash? Why is it a cash conversation? If you want to really financially include people, that means that from the comfort of my home, I can solve problems, right? Why are we still struggling with mobile money until date? You saw the issue back and forth with one of the two telecoms that got into mobile. See the stress, see the conversations, see the number of back and forth banks had over USSD issue, right? So those are the real problems that, and I think that alone, if we can solve that, I think we already have. We can easily sort our own issues, because then if we say we should use the mobile money of Kenya, that is largely successful. I don't even need to look for Brazil. Kenya alone. Ghana. Exactly. So that is where the real issues lie, and I hope maybe the CBN governor took one or two cues from whatever the Brazilian.
Because another thing that he was talking about is that there's going to be more collaboration between the Central Bank of Brazil and the Central Bank of Nigeria, and that should help them in fostering a better relationship. Also being able to harness more diaspora remittances. That's one of the things that, you know, he also talked about, because Brazil has almost like the largest black population as well. If you're looking at, you know, in Latin America, if you're looking at it, at the numbers.
Yeah. I feel that Brazil has a whole lot of blacks, and also you know that Nigerians are everywhere anyway, so there's always something to remit. Just to buttress what Daniel was saying, if you look at financial inclusion, you find out that the people that earn more and do a lot of transactions, let's say we have 100% of Nigerians, from 20% to 100%, okay, or people that do high volume transactions to the least transactions, most of these people have been captured. The majority of people that have not been captured are people that have microtransactions, basically people that don't even have a smartphone. So you must make something like mobile money work or USSD to work conveniently for you to be able to capture such things. I must be able to pay the taxi man, the conductor, the woman selling ugu. I must be able to pay them with something that goes beyond smartphone. Then at the end of the day, you can easily capture those people. Otherwise, we'll continue to rely on cash for payments of 200 naira to 10,000 naira.
And this is where something like blockchain would work. We cannot rely 100% on this kind of structure on NIBSS alone. There has to be a substructure where settlements can be done at that level. So if a sub-settlement is done with your USSD, then it can now be correlated or reconciled
Yeah,
at the
with
NIBIS
yes.
level. So it has to work. That is one of the easiest ways to get it to work. That's that we'd even make more money as a country
Yeah,
in terms
we
of
will.
taxes, in terms of
I mean, I think one of the things that we
transactions.
also need to find out, I mean, the different reports talking about, in fact, there was a particular report, I think it was from Fitch Nigeria, talking about, e-Naira is now inaccessible, and it was quietly pulled offline by this particular, CBN
The shocker.
administration. Well, so anyway, we're talking about mobile money transactions and financial inclusion, and there was so much money spent by the last CBN administrator on e-money, on e-Naira. This administration needs to tell us if they have decided that they don't want to go through it anymore, they don't want to be part of it, and what the alternative is, because that was supposed to answer a lot of questions where mobile money transactions was concerned and all that, but it wasn't easily adaptable, even by Nigerian society at the time. So is there a way it could have been done better, or are they going to bring it back or something? Basically, implementation wasn't really great.
For me, I don't even think it's much of the implementation. The question I asked when e-Naira came out is, what is e-Naira meant to substitute or fill? Okay, because at that point in time, there were so many alternatives to e-Naira. Why, as a person, should I use e-Naira? We're not looking at it from the government perspective. We're looking at it from the consumer perspective. Why should I use e-Naira when my ATM cards are there, my fintechs are there, my mobile apps are there to transfer money? What is the advantage to me as a person for using e-Naira? So if they could not answer that question, and the basis of that question was not the basis for forming e-Naira, then at the end of the day, we knew it was not going to be so successful, because it's just that, like downloading another fintech app from the Google Play Store or from the Apple App Store. So at the end of the day, it was not really substituting or filling the gap for something that was vacant. It was more or less an alternative, and albeit more or less an alternative that was not up to even the ones that were presently available. So why would somebody leave what has been working for him to go and try out a new thing? And at that point, I remember also that I was even saying that, okay, maybe the government can even give incentives for people to come on board. But all this did not happen. So why would I, as one that also do transactions of 2,000, 5,000, use e-Naira?
Well, it's supposed to be digital currency. It's supposed to help you
Well,
carry out
it
transactions.
e-Naira was more or less like a wallet. It's still based in Naira. Was it based on the blockchain? No. Well,
e-Naira
it wasn't.
was just wallet.
It was just a wallet.
E-wallet.
So at the end of the day, just created a wallet.
Soft Naira.
Why do I need 10 wallets? I only have 2 pockets.
All right, then let's
So I get the CBN not talking about it, because then if you call outrightly to say we are cancelling the debate starts again. If we say
and also look at all of the money
just-
that was spent on it.
of course, we just allow it just there natural death. Nobody's using it. Let's just allow it just go like that.
Let it just
Because
go.
then, if anything like this is coming back, it should be properly done.
Should be on the
That's what's
blockchain
proper- that's
direct. Let's
what's
do it
properly
the
done.
proper way that other countries are actually doing it.
All right, let's talk about the Naira then. Still talking about the Naira.
Remove the E.
Okay, so we have reports from Naira Merchant talking about the Naira recovering to about 1,525 Naira to $1. That's a 15.28% gain in just 5 months. Now, the CBN is crediting this to 3 different factors. Says that oil receipts, that means that we're making more money from oil. There's strong inflows from diaspora remittances, and they've also been able to clear over 4 billion Naira in outstanding FX backlogs. One of the things that the CBN governor did when it came was to focus on clearing the backlogs, because we had quite a bit of it with the
The
last CBN
airlines,
governor.
yeah.
So they've managed to clear most of this, and then they're also saying that there's more money coming from oil now. We're producing a bit more. I think last month we also were able to go over OPEC, quota, and then you now have strong inflow from diaspora remittances coming in as well. And one of the things that the CBN governor was talking about, even with the Brazilian counterpart, was how to harness more diaspora remittances, because at the end of the day, if we have more money coming in, more inflows coming in, then our Naira can stabilize a bit more.
And so I think that we're getting it right in terms of the CBN's approach towards stability, and I think 15% is a good. It's a considerable level of success in terms of being stable and strengthening the Naira. Remittances are coming in the way we wanted, the way we want. The market is attracting a lot of portfolio investments. So you can expect that to be the major pointer. And the fact that we now have like there's this belief around the financial sector that there's a lot of that the structure is right. So what that does is gives that sentiment around people bringing in more funds. Even Nigerians that in diaspora want to now take part in whatever we are doing, whether it is in real estate or whether it is in what's the word in the stock market. So we are getting that. We're getting that right, and I think that one of the conversations we should still ask the CBN governor is your 1,000 naira to a dollar, is it the real price or this 1.5? Because now it looks like 1.5.
Why are you so focused on knowing what the real value of naira is?
Yeah,
so
because
you want the CBN governor to come and tell you how much
because
it is.
he said it. That was what he said. That was what he said in December 2023. That the real value that from PPP.
That was in December 2023.
Yeah, there was a figure that came out. There was a particular chart. Someone did one PPP purchasing power parity comparing price of rice in Dubai and US Coke and said the naira should be at 1,000. And the CBN also and CBN governor also echoed it, right? So
you want to change their stance now?
Well, yeah. So because then we also need to know two things that is key is what is 1.5 an acceptable level that you're going to just say even if there is pressure we don't force it.
I thought stability
this.
was more important than the value.
Yes, apparently.
Yeah, but
they've done that. That's something like they've done that correctly. But we still need to get that conversation because why am I saying this? If there is a goal in mind, right? If there is a plan that the naira should get to 1,000, right? Is also if there is a body language from the CBN that this is our goal, right? This is what we're trying to do. It gives the market a certain level of of acceptance or a belief that this is what you're trying to, just like inflation targeting also that countries do, right? If you say I'm targeting so number of inflation, what happens to your investors is that they have an idea of what your macroeconomic goal is, right? So what the CBN should be saying is that we are comfortable with this because what we don't want an excessive defending of the naira because it will waste of our reserves. We don't want manipulation of any kind, right? So what we just want is this what the market is saying, right? Is this this particular price?
I think you're stirring up the honestness because if we have stability already,
yes.
Let's just focus on making sure that it is stable, which is what the CBN has tried to do in how many months? Because another thing that the CBN was talking about was that another thing that you can credit, for the naira stability is this unification of the FX market that the CBN did. Exactly, and that has also helped in stabilizing.
I don't think Daniel is petty. I think that's
I mean, we're stable. Isn't that good
enough?
Yeah,
yes,
for me, that's
it is.
That's
but what
enough.
is our goal? Just 1.5 is 1.5 our range,
no,
or there is if we get more FX, we can still add. I know why I'm saying this because the conversation is particularly for businesses, right? Is the CBN comfortable with 1,500 as a range, or if we get more if crude oil gets to $80 per barrel today, right, and we have more FX, is the CBN going to try to push the naira to 1,000? That is what I'm saying, because then it gives an idea of what to expect, right?
But
because
we are currently celebrating.
We are currently celebrating a 15% increase.
Yes.
Right. What we are saying is we want stability.
Yes.
But suddenly 15% is like a win. Do you get what I'm saying? Stability means it's just at 1,300, or maybe goes to 1,530, goes to 1,025. We just okay. We are doing well, right? But if you're celebrating a story that this is why naira is.
Are we celebrating? Really?
That is what the CBN said.
I mean, the CBN governor and the CBN, one of the CBN officials was the one who was talking about this, about how, this is what you can credit it to. It's 15% increase in 5 months, and anyway, but what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, let's just focus on the stability and, take our eyes off, the increase, right? Because the CBN in recent times has not done a lot of defense of the naira. They've said that they're not going to do a lot of that. They're just going to let the market determine, even though we have a managed flow.
Okay,
but that's basically
so
what
has
we're
basically
doing.
happened, right? What you're seeing with 25 is defending. See, the thing is, how do I say it? Supply is a supply and demand conversation, right? the CBN, right? There are so many players in that space. CBN is not the only player that supplies the dollar, right? So if you are part of the suppliers and you're saying stability, you get stability is just a range of prices. See, if you check the yuan, the South Korean what do you call it, won to the dollar, the price has never exceeded 0.02 or 0.1 for the past 10 years, right? That is stability. But if you're coming out to say 15% is the reason why is because we now have more, right? That means that it is the more you're getting from the remittance from those inflow is what you're using to stabilize. That means you are defending one way or the other because it's a function of supply. So if supply is not enough for your demand, is when the prices will go up. I guess what I'm trying to say. So the stability is a function of availability of the supply to keep boxing it in that, and that's why we're celebrating that we've seen stability, because there is a structure.
Okay,
right?
let me get to this other story, because I think this other story probably shed a bit of light on that as we wrap up this part of the headlines. Let's talk about what Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Tax Reforms, is saying. Now, according to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, he's saying that, well, Nigeria has more dollar inflows than outflows, legitimately, but the discretionary demand is a challenge, because that is what is driving up some sort of volatility. And here's what he says, which will probably buttress what Daniel is saying. According to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, he says that, quote, he said, I believe that the Naira is significantly undervalued, saying that if we get the Naira to sub 1,000 Naira to a dollar, what that means for inflation costs to cost of living, standard of living. And so he was calling for transparency when you talk about criterion for FAC allocation. And, you know, he was saying that these are the kind of things that are increasing the Naira volatility. So he's talking about even sub 1,000 Naira to $1.
For me,
are we living in dreamland if we're thinking about something like that?
For me, I want to go your route, even though what Daniel is saying is 100% correct, because he's saying that more or less what exactly is the focus. If the focus is that we want to get it to 1,000 Naira, that means we are still on the way there. And the more inflow we have, the closer to our dream, that we have. But I want to go with the fact that we should focus more on stability, because the value of particular currency exchange rates has been proven in history and with other countries not to really be tied, to economic progress and to standard of living and to cost of living. We have countries that are lower in value than our Naira, and their economy is far better than ours. And we also have countries that maybe they have, a higher value of their exchange currency, and their economy might not be as good as ours. So for me, we can have the conversation all day that, 1 Naira to $1 and all whatnot. But at the end of the day, what does it translate into for us? What he's trying to prove, what he's trying to explain is what exactly is the focus of the CBN. If the CBN's focus is 1,000 or sub 1,000 for the value of Naira, then they should come out and say it.
Well,
that
this
means
is not
that
CBN saying this, though. This is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele.
No, I'm talking about the previous news and this one.
Was a budget office. It wasn't the CBN.
Okay, the government. Let me remove it. The government. so that at the end of the day, let's know the focus and say, okay, we're looking at 1,000 to $1. So we are on our way there. The more inflow we get, the more we can defend, the more we can get to our dream. But if we're looking at a demand and supply pure without government intervention, then let's just focus on stability. That means that you still have to define what you want. Because if you're saying stability and suddenly there's a pool that takes you to 1.8, after some time it crashes to 1.3, then you're not having stability still. So you still have to intervene. One way or the other, the government must come out to be very specific about what they want, so that we, the citizens, can also work along with them to achieve that.
I think the CBN governor has actually talked about how, he's more focused on stability, in recent times than, I think that the statement you're crediting to him was a very long time ago. When it first came in. So,
okay.
So let's focus on recent focusing on stability. And we're having that conversation right now. Daniel, thank you very much. We need to go on a very quick break. When we return, we will focus on our conversation on the other side. There is an increase in passport fees. There's an increase in CSC registration fees. What does this mean for the average Nigerian? Stay with us. This is Business Lens on Rapid TV.